The first thing they don't tell you about chemotherapy is how cold the room is. I sat there, wrapped in 2 blankets, watching poison drip into my veins, while my sister Esme scrolled through her phone, occasionally glancing up to ask if I needed anything. My name is Sandra, and 6 weeks ago I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer. The news hit like a freight train, but I refused to let it derail my life. My daughter Sadie needed me to be strong, and that's exactly what I plan to be. You should let me handle the bills while you focus on getting better, Esme said, not looking up from her screen. I can keep track of everything, make sure nothing falls through the cracks. I hesitated. Esme and responsibility had never been close friends, but she seemed different lately, more mature, more present. I don't know. Come on, sis, you're fighting cancer. The least I can do is help with the boring stuff. She reached over and squeezed my hand. Besides, what if something happens and you're too sick to deal with it? Sadie needs someone looking out for her future. The mention of Sadie made me pause. My 13-year-old was everything to me, and her college fund was my pride and joy. 12 years of careful saving, making sure she'd have opportunities I never had. Just the regular bills, I finally agreed. The mortgage, utilities, nothing else. Esme beamed. You won't regret this. I've really got my life together now. Dr. Wong came in to check my progress. How are we feeling today, Sandra? Like I could run a marathon, I joked weakly. She smiled, checking my charts. The fatigue is normal. Your numbers look good, though. Where's Devon today? Work meeting, I said, ignoring the slight sting. My husband had been increasingly absent lately, citing project deadlines. That evening, Devon came home late, carrying takeout. Sorry I missed the session. How'd it go? Fine. Esme was there. I watched his face carefully. She offered to help with the bills while I'm sick. Something flickered across his expression. Relief? That's thoughtful of her. Might be good to have the help. 3 weeks later, I woke up early, nauseous from the previous day's treatment. Unable to sleep, I decided to check our accounts online, something I hadn't done since giving Esme limited access. The screen loaded. I blinked, thinking the chemo was affecting my vision. The numbers couldn't be right. I refreshed the page. Our savings account, Sadie's college fund, was empty. My hands shaking, I called the bank. There must be some mistake, I said, my voice trembling. No mistake, ma'am. The transfers were authorized using your access codes. Multiple withdrawals over the past 2 weeks. I hung up and drove straight to Esme's apartment, still in my pajamas. She opened the door wearing designer clothes I'd never seen before. Where is it? I demanded, pushing past her. Sandra, calm down. You look terrible. Should you even be driving? The money, Esme. Sadie's college fund. Where is it? She sat down, her face crumpling into familiar tears. I'd seen this expression countless times growing up, whenever she needed to escape consequences. I was desperate, she whispered. My business opportunity. I needed startup capital, but I'll pay it all back, I swear. Double even. This investment is guaranteed. Guaranteed? My voice sounded strange, distant. You stole my daughter's future on a guarantee? Borrowed, she corrected, wiping her eyes. I borrowed it. You're my sister. We're family. And family helps each other, right? I stared at her, this woman I'd grown up with, shared secrets with, trusted despite everyone's warnings. How much? She wouldn't meet my eyes. All of it. The room spun. 12 years of savings gone in 2 weeks. While I lay in a hospital chair fighting for my life, my sister had betrayed me in the worst possible way. I'm calling the police, I said, pulling out my phone. Esme grabbed my arm. Wait, talk to Devon first. He understands. He knows this is for the best. I froze, her words hitting me like a physical blow. What do you mean Devon knows? She covered her mouth, realizing what she'd revealed. But it was too late. I'd seen the truth in her eyes. Sandra, please, she started, but I was already walking out the door. My sister and my husband. While cancer ravaged my body, they'd conspired to steal my daughter's future. As I drove home, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white, one thought crystallized in my mind. This betrayal would cost them everything. I just didn't know yet how I'd make them pay. I found Devon in his home office, typing away like it was any other morning, like he hadn't helped steal our daughter's future. Did you know? My voice was steady, calmer than I felt. He didn't turn around. About what? Don't. Just don't. Esme told me you knew about the money. His typing stopped. When he finally faced me, his expression wasn't guilty or apologetic. It was annoyed. You're making this bigger than it needs to be. Bigger than it needs to be? I gripped the doorframe to stay upright. That money was for Sadie's education, and we can always save more, he said, as if explaining something simple to a child. Esme needed it now. She has a real opportunity with this business venture. What business venture? Import-export. Her boyfriend Chaz has connections overseas. It's practically guaranteed returns. I laughed, a hollow sound that scared even me. You let my sister and her latest loser boyfriend steal our daughter's college fund for an import-export scheme? She's family, Sandra. He stood up, running his hands through his hair. You're being dramatic. You're emotional because of the treatments, but don't you dare blame this on the cancer. I stepped closer, forcing him to look at me. Did you help her set up the transfers? His silence was answer enough. I trusted you, I whispered. Both of you. Look, he sighed. What's done is done. You're strong. You'll bounce back. Esme needed this chance more than we need a safety net. The casual way he said it, like he had any right to make that decision, made something snap inside me. More than our daughter needs an education? We have years to rebuild the fund. Besides, he checked his phone, Esme's hosting a small dinner tonight to discuss the business plan. Once you see the potential... A dinner? I cut him off. She stole everything and she's throwing a dinner party. It's a celebration of new beginnings, he said. She wants to share her vision, show you it wasn't a mistake. I stared at him, this stranger wearing my husband's face. And you expect me to attend? It would mean a lot to her, to both of us. My phone buzzed, a text from Esme. Dinner at 7, wearing my new Gucci dress. Can't wait to share the amazing news. Fine, I said quietly. I'll be there. Devon looked relieved. You'll see. This is good for everyone. I left him to his delusions and drove to the bank. The teller's face was sympathetic as I requested all recent transaction records. Mrs. Morgan? She called as I turned to leave. There's something else you should know. A new business account was opened last week. By whom? She slid a paper across the counter. There it was in black and white. Future Ventures LLC. Joint account holders, Devon Morgan and Esme Morgan. I clutched the paper, my vision blurring. Not just theft, but premeditated betrayal. They'd planned this, created a company, while I was fighting for my life. My best friend Amber found me in the bank parking lot, still holding the paper. I'd called her in a daze, needing someone, anyone, who wasn't part of this nightmare. Oh, honey, she said, pulling me into a hug. What do you need? A lawyer, I replied, my voice hardening. And everything you know about banking fraud. I have a friend who specializes in exactly that. She pulled out her phone. Hugh Grant. He's discreet, ruthless, and owes me a favor. I need to be smart about this, I said, more to myself than her. They think I'm weak right now, vulnerable. Then let them think that. Amber's eyes gleamed. While you build your case. That evening, I walked into Esme's apartment wearing my best smile. The table was set with expensive china I'd never seen before. Devon was already there, along with Esme's boyfriend Chaz, a slick-looking man with 2 white teeth. Sandra, Esme hugged me, reeking of expensive perfume. I'm so glad you came. Wait until you hear about our plans. I hugged her back, noting the price tags she'd forgotten to remove from her new outfit. My money, Sadie's money, on full display. I wouldn't miss it, I said, accepting a glass of champagne. Tell me everything. As they launched into their grand vision of international commerce, I smiled and nodded, playing the supportive sister, the understanding wife. But inside, I was already at war. They thought cancer had made me weak. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. Chemo makes you tired, but betrayal keeps you awake. I spent my sleepless nights documenting everything, every transfer, every text, every business meeting. My laptop became an archive of their deceit, growing larger by the day. Hugh's office was exactly what you'd expect from a high-powered lawyer, all leather and mahogany. He reviewed my evidence with sharp eyes while I tried not to fidget. This is methodical work, he said, closing my laptop. Most clients come in emotional. You came in prepared. I have a lot of time to think between treatments. He leaned forward. The joint LLC account is particularly damning. It shows premeditation, conspiracy. Have you spoken with the bank's fraud department? Meeting them today? I checked my watch. In an hour, actually. Good. I've already filed for emergency account freezes. We'll need proof of medical bills, proof the money was designated for your daughter's education. A knock interrupted us. Amber poked her head in. Sorry I'm late. Traffic was hell. She sat beside me, squeezing my hand. Did you tell him about the car? Hugh raised an eyebrow. What car? I pulled out my phone, showing him the registration document I'd found in Devon's email. They bought a Mercedes last week, registered in Devon's name, but Esme drives it. Using your daughter's college fund? Hugh's pen scratched across his notepad. Perfect. More evidence of personal gain through fraudulent means. The bank's fraud investigator, Lane, was younger than I expected, sharp-eyed and determined. She spread documents across her desk as I recounted everything. Classic affinity fraud, she said, using family ties to gain trust, then exploiting it. But they got sloppy. These transfers... She pointed to a series of transactions. They didn't even try to hide them. They didn't think they needed to, I said quietly. They assumed I was too sick to notice. Their arrogance works in our favor. We can trace every dollar. She pulled out more papers. They've been spending lavishly. Designer clothes, luxury cars, expensive restaurants, all traceable, all documented. My phone buzzed. A text from Sadie. Mom, when can we look at colleges? Jessica's already touring campuses. My heart clenched. Lane must have noticed my expression. Your daughter doesn't know? I shook my head. She just knows we're adjusting the timeline. I can't tell her her own father. We'll get it back, Lane assured me. Every penny. That evening, I found Sadie at her desk, surrounded by college brochures. She looked up as I entered, her face bright with excitement. MIT has this amazing engineering program, she said, pointing to a glossy page, and their robotics lab is incredible. I sat on her bed, fighting to keep my voice steady. Honey, about college. I know. We have to wait and see how your treatment goes. She turned back to the brochures. But it doesn't hurt to look, right? I watched her pore over the pages, planning her future while her father and aunt dismantled it piece by piece. My phone buzzed again. Esme sending pictures of her and Chaz at some upscale restaurant. Having the most amazing dinner. Business is booming. I excused myself to the bathroom and threw up, though whether from the chemo or the rage, I couldn't tell. Later that night, I met Amber at our usual coffee shop. She slid a file across the table. My friend at the dealership came through, she said. Full documentation of the car purchase. Devon used your power of attorney to access the college fund directly. I flipped through the papers, stopping at a familiar signature. He forged my name. Add it to the pile. Amber stirred her coffee. Hugh says we're almost ready. The court date is set for next month. They're planning something big before then, I said. Esme keeps hinting at some celebration dinner. Something about expanding the business. More like running with what's left of the money. Amber's eyes narrowed. You think they're planning to skip town? I showed her Esme's latest social media posts, all about international travel and exciting new horizons. Not if I can help it. I pulled out my own file. I found their flight searches. Costa Rica. Apparently they think they're clever. They won't make it that far, Amber promised. Hugh's got the judge on standby for emergency orders. I looked down at my hands, steady, despite everything. I always thought cancer would be the hardest battle of my life. Cancer's just a disease, Amber said softly. This is personal. My phone lit up with another text from Esme. Big announcement dinner next week. Wear something fancy. I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Then let's make it memorable. The invitation arrived on thick cream cardstock, gold lettering announcing a celebration of success at one of the city's most expensive restaurants. Esme's handwriting sprawled across the bottom. Can't wait to share our amazing news. Wear that blue dress you love. Gizuai. The blue dress she meant was hanging in my closet, unworn. I'd bought it before the diagnosis, before everything changed. Now it hung loose in places where chemo had eaten away at my body. You don't have to go, Amber said, watching me adjust the dress in the mirror. Yes, I do. I smoothed the fabric. They need to think everything's normal. My phone chimed with another of Esme's Instagram posts, her and Chaz posing outside Gucci, #blessed and entrepreneur life. The comments were full of congratulations from people who had no idea they were celebrating stolen money. Devin came home early that day, whistling as he changed for the dinner. You look nice, he said, like nothing was wrong, like he hadn't destroyed our family. Thanks. I watched him pick out a new tie, another purchase I hadn't known about. Esme's been posting a lot about Costa Rica lately. Has she? His hands fumbled slightly with the tie. Must be trending or something. Must be. My phone rang. Hugh. I stepped into the bathroom to answer. It's done, he said without preamble. Judge signed the orders. We can freeze everything the moment you give the word. The dinner's tomorrow night? Perfect timing. Lane has the documentation ready. Just say when. I ended the call and found Devin watching me. Everything okay? Fine, just checking on my test results. He nodded, already losing interest. Ready to go? We should pick up flowers for Esme. The restaurant was exactly as pretentious as I expected. Esme held court at a private table, Chaz at her side, both gleaming with the artificial shine of new money, my money. Sandra! She air-kissed my cheek. You came, and you wore the dress. Wouldn't miss it? I handed her the flowers. Congratulations on everything. More guests arrived, mostly Esme's new business friends, who looked as genuine as cubic zirconia. They fawned over her stories of entrepreneurial success while sipping $100 wines. It's all about seizing opportunities, Esme announced to the table, taking risks, following your dreams, and having support, Chaz added, squeezing her hand. Family that believes in you. I caught Devin nodding along, proud as if he'd done something noble. My phone buzzed, a text from Lane. Everything's in place, all accounts tracked, ready when you are. Esme clinked her glass, standing for a toast. I have amazing news. Thanks to our incredible success, Chaz and I are expanding internationally. We're opening an office in Costa Rica. The table erupted in applause. I clapped too, watching Devin's face. He wasn't surprised. Of course he wasn't. He'd helped plan this. We leave next month, Chaz announced. A new chapter in paradise. My phone buzzed again, Hugh this time. Judge confirmed. One word from you and their accounts freeze. All of them. I excused myself to the bathroom, finding Amber waiting there as planned. "They're running," I said, checking the stalls to ensure we were alone. "Costa Rica next month." "Not anymore." Amber's eyes were hard. "Hugh says the second those accounts freeze, their passports get flagged. They really think they'll get away with it. That's the beauty of it." Amber squeezed my shoulder. "Their arrogance makes them sloppy. Every post, every purchase, every transfer, it's all evidence." Back at the table, Esme was glowing, describing their beachfront office plans. Devin kept glancing at his phone, probably checking flight details. "A toast," Chaz called out, raising his glass. "To new beginnings." I raised my water glass, smiling as they all drank. My phone lit up with another Instagram notification, Esme posting a photo of us all, captioned, "Family is everything. Sir blessed calm new chapter, Costa Rica bound." "Sandra," Esme turned to me, eyes shining with false sincerity. "I know things have been tough with your treatment, but I hope you know everything I do for family." I thought of Sadie at home, still believing in her future, still trusting her father. I thought of all the nights I'd spent sick from chemo while they planned their escape with my daughter's money. "Of course," I said softly. "Family is everything." Tomorrow, they'd learn exactly what that meant, but tonight, I'd let them celebrate. Let them think they'd won. After all, the best revenge is served at room temperature, with a side of justice. Hugh's office buzzed with quiet intensity as Lane spread documents across the conference table. Each paper represented another betrayal, another piece of evidence against my sister and husband. 12 separate accounts, Lane said, pointing to a diagram. All linked, all funded with your money. They got creative with the transfers, I'll give them that. But not creative enough, Hugh added, signing court orders. The freeze hits at 7 p.m. tomorrow during their farewell dinner. Every account, every card, everything. My hands shook slightly as I signed the final papers. "And their passports?" "Flagged." Lane checked her tablet. "Border control's been notified. The second they try to leave the country, they'll be detained." Amber arrived with coffee and more files. "You need to see this," she said, pulling up emails on her phone. "Devin's been talking to a divorce lawyer." My stomach dropped. "What?" "He's building a case," she continued, her voice tight with anger, "claiming your illness has made you mentally unstable. He's after custody of Sadie." The room spun. I gripped the table, willing myself not to be sick. "When?" "He has an appointment next week after their planned departure date." Amber's face softened. "He was going to leave you sick and alone, then take Sadie." Hugh's pen scratched sharply across paper. "This changes things. We need to move faster." He turned to Lane. "Can we push up the timeline?" "The accounts are ready," she confirmed. "We can freeze them tonight if needed." "No," I said, straightening up. "Let them have their dinner. Let them think they've won. I want to see their faces when it all falls apart." My phone chimed. Esme sending party details for tomorrow night. "Wearing my new Prada. Bring Sadie. She should be part of the celebration." "She wants Sadie there?" Amber's voice dripped with disgust. "Of course she does." I showed them Devin's responding text. "Perfect timing. Everything's ready." They were going to take her tomorrow night, Lane realized, right after the dinner. "Well," Hugh said, straightening his tie, "they're in for quite a surprise instead." I drove home in a daze, my mind racing. In the driveway, I found Sadie sitting on the porch steps. "Mom?" Her voice was small. "Is it true we can't afford college anymore?" My heart stopped. "Who told you that?" "I overheard Dad on the phone. He said something about funds being temporarily relocated." She looked up at me, eyes wide. "But it's coming back, right?" I sat beside her, pulling her close. "Listen to me. Your future is secure. I promise you that. No matter what happens tomorrow, remember that I will always protect you." "What's happening tomorrow?" "A dinner. Your aunt's celebrating her new business. The one Dad helped with?" She picked at her shoelaces. He seems really excited about Costa Rica. I froze. What about Costa Rica? He's been looking at schools there, international schools. She shrugged. I thought maybe we were moving. The pieces clicked into place. Not just stealing the money, not just planning divorce. They were going to take my daughter to another country. While I was sick, while I was vulnerable. My phone buzzed again, Devon. Picking up Sadie's passport from expedited processing. Everything set for tomorrow. I held Sadie tighter, my resolve hardening. How about you sleep at Aunt Amber's tonight? She's making those cookies you love. Really? On a school night? Really? I'll pick you up tomorrow before the dinner. After dropping her off, I met Lane at a coffee shop. She had more papers, more evidence of their plans. Private school applications, she said, sliding them across the table. Residence permits. They've been planning this for months. While I was in chemotherapy, I said, my voice hollow. While I was fighting for my life, they were planning to steal my daughters. But we caught them. Lane's eyes were fierce. We have everything. The money trail, the fraudulent transfers, the forged documents, and now attempted parental kidnapping. My phone lit up with messages from both of them. Esme, can't wait for tomorrow. Family means everything. Devon, make sure Sadie dresses up. It's a special night. I turned off my phone, suddenly calm. Tomorrow, they would learn what family really means. Tomorrow, they would understand exactly what happens when you try to steal a mother's child. They think cancer made me weak, I told Lane. They're about to learn it made me unstoppable. The restaurant glittered with false promises, just like my sister's smile. Esme stood at the entrance in her new Prada dress, greeting guests like a queen at court. Chaz hovered nearby, checking his phone every few minutes. Sandra, Esme hugged me tight. Where's Sadie? She's not feeling well, I lied smoothly. Staying with Amber tonight. Devon's face tightened. You didn't tell me that. Must have slipped my mind during chemo. I smiled sweetly. You know how forgetful I've been lately. The private dining room was decorated lavishly, champagne flowing, expensive centerpieces on every table. My daughter's future scattered across the room in crystal glasses and silk tablecloths. 7 minutes, Lane texted from her position at the bar. Hugh sat in a corner booth, pretending to work on his laptop. Esme clinked her glass, drawing everyone's attention. Thank you all for coming tonight. We have such exciting news to share. Chaz wrapped his arm around her waist. Thanks to our amazing success with future ventures, we're expanding internationally. Costa Rica, Esme beamed. We leave next week, and we couldn't have done it without the support of family. She raised her glass to Devon. Some people just understand the importance of seizing opportunities. 6 minutes. Devon stood up, joining their toast. To new beginnings and fresh starts. Speaking of fresh starts, Chaz announced, Esme and I have another surprise. He dropped to one knee, producing a ring that probably cost 3 months of Sadie's tuition. Will you marry me? The room erupted in applause as Esme squealed, yes. I checked my watch. 5 minutes. We'll have the wedding in Costa Rica, Esme gushed. On the beach. Everyone here is invited, of course. 4 minutes. Devon caught my eye across the table, his expression almost apologetic. Almost, but not quite. He had no idea his passport had already been flagged, that his carefully planned escape was about to implode. 3 minutes. Sandra, Esme called out, would you make a toast? As my sister, it would mean so much. 2 minutes. I stood slowly, raising my water glass. The room quieted, all eyes on me. Esme beamed, drunk on success and champagne. Devon checked his phone one last time. 1 minute. To my sister, I started, my voice clear. Who taught me that family means everything? Esme wiped away fake tears. Who showed me, while I was fighting cancer, just how far people will go when they think you're too weak to fight back? The smile froze on her face. To my husband, who planned to take my daughter to another country while I was too sick to stop him. Devon stood up sharply. Sandra, and to karma, I continued as Lane and Hugh approached from opposite sides of the room, which arrives exactly now. Right on cue, phones started buzzing around the table. Esme grabbed hers, face paling. Chaz stared at his screen in horror. Devon's credit card was declined as he tried to close out his tab. "What's happening?" Esme's voice shook. "My accounts. They're all frozen." "Funny thing about stealing from someone with a financial background," I said, pulling out a thick folder. "We tend to keep receipts." Lane stepped forward, badge visible. "Esme and Devon Morgan, I'm with the bank's fraud investigation unit. We need to discuss some concerning transactions." "This is ridiculous." Esme stood up, swaying slightly. "It was a loan. Tell them, Devon." But Devon was staring at Hugh, who was calmly laying out court documents. Theft, fraud, conspiracy, attempted parental kidnapping. Hugh listed off. "Shall I continue?" "You can't prove anything," Chaz started, but stopped as I pulled out my phone, playing a recording of last week's dinner where they'd discussed their plans in detail. "I've been documenting everything," I said quietly. "Every transfer, every conversation, every plan to steal my daughter." Esme's mascara ran as she turned to Devon. "Do something!" "The police are outside," Lane announced, along with additional federal agents given the international flight risk. Guests began slipping away as Esme crumpled into her chair, her new ring catching the light. Chaz was already edging toward the back exit. "You were right about one thing," I told my sister as officers entered the room. "Family is everything. That's why I'm making sure you pay for trying to steal mine." Devon reached for me. "Sandra, please, we can explain. Save it for the judge." I stepped back as Lane began reading their rights. "Oh, and Esme? That Prada dress you're wearing? I want it back. It was bought with my daughter's college fund." I walked out of the restaurant into the cool night air, leaving behind the sound of handcuffs clicking shut. My phone buzzed. A text from Amber. "Sadie's safe. She's asking about MIT again." I smiled, finally feeling truly strong for the first time since my diagnosis. Cancer couldn't break me, and neither could they. The police station hummed with late-night activity as Lane led me through the interview process. Behind the two-way mirror, I could hear Esme wailing about family loyalty while Devon demanded his lawyer. "We found the passports," Lane said, spreading photos across the table. "Sadie's was hidden in Devon's office safe. Expedited processing, departure scheduled for tomorrow night." My hands shook as I picked up my daughter's passport. They really were going to take her. But they didn't. Lane squeezed my shoulder. "We've frozen every account, including 3 we didn't know about before tonight. The total amount stolen..." She slid over a document. I stared at the number. "That's more than Sadie's college fund. They took everything they could access, savings, retirement, even your medical fund." A commotion outside drew our attention. Chaz was being led in handcuffs, his perfect white teeth gritted in fury. "Found him at the airport," an officer reported, "trying to board a flight to Panama with $50,000 in cash." "My money?" I asked Lane. She nodded. "And Esme's new car is missing. We've put out an alert." Hugh entered, looking pleased, despite the late hour. "Devon's lawyer just arrived. He's already talking plea deal." "No deal," I said firmly. "They plan to kidnap my daughter." Through the window, I watched Devon slump in his chair as his lawyer whispered urgently in his ear. Gone was the confident man who thought he could steal my life. In his place sat a desperate stranger. "Sandra!" he called out as I passed his room. "Please, just listen." I paused at the door. "You were going to take my daughter while I was sick with cancer." "I was trying to protect her." He leaned forward, desperate. "You're not thinking clearly. The treatments, the stress of having my husband and sister steal everything while planning to kidnap my child." I stepped closer. "You're right. That has been stressful. We can fix this," he pleaded. "I'll pay it all back. We can start over. Start over? I laughed coldly. You chose her. Now you get to share her consequences. In the next room, Esme had stopped crying. Her makeup streaked across her face. It wasn't supposed to be like this, she whimpered as I entered. How was it supposed to be? I sat across from her. You steal my daughter's future, run away to Costa Rica, live happily ever after with my money? I deserved a chance. She slammed her hands on the table. You always had everything. The stable job, the perfect family. It wasn't fair. Fair? I leaned forward. I have cancer, Esme. While I was fighting for my life, you and my husband plotted to steal everything I had left. Chaz said the business was guaranteed. Chaz just tried to flee the country without you. She crumpled again, reality finally hitting her. What's going to happen to me? You'll face charges, lots of them. I stood up, and every time you think about betraying someone else, you'll remember this moment. Dawn was breaking as I left the station. Hugh walked me to my car, reviewing next steps. The court date is set for next week, he said. With the evidence we have, plus their attempted flight, they're looking at serious time. And the money? We've recovered most of it. The rest... He smiled slightly. Let's just say Chaz's attempt to flee with cash makes our asset recovery much easier. My phone buzzed. Amber sending a photo of Sadie asleep surrounded by college brochures. Safe, protected, her future secured again. There's something else, Hugh added hesitantly. We found divorce papers in Devin's email. He was planning to file next week, citing your mental instability from cancer treatments as grounds for full custody. I absorbed this final betrayal with strange calm. Add it to the charges. Already done. He handed me a folder. These are your new custody papers. Given the circumstances, I don't think he'll contest them. The morning sun hit my face as I drove home, warming away the night's chill. In my rearview mirror, I caught a glimpse of myself. Tired, worn from treatment, but undefeated. My phone rang, Dr. Wong calling about my latest results. Your numbers are improving, she said warmly. The treatment's working. I thought of Esme and Devin in their cells, of Chaz in handcuffs, of all their careful plans destroyed by their own greed. Yes, I replied, smiling for the first time in what felt like years. The treatment is working perfectly. When I got home, I found Sadie awake, making breakfast. Mom! She hugged me tight. Where were you? Is everything okay? I held her close, breathing in the scent of her shampoo. Everything's going to be fine now. How about we look at those college brochures together? Her face lit up. Really? You mean it? Really? I poured us both coffee. Let's talk about your future. The courthouse steps felt warmer under the autumn sun as I waited for Hugh to finish filing the final paperwork. My phone buzzed with news alerts. Local business couple sentenced in major fraud case, but I didn't need to read them. I'd watched it happen in person. Devin hadn't looked at me during the sentencing. Esme had sobbed, mascara running again, begging for leniency. The judge had been unmoved by their performances. 7 years, Hugh said, joining me on the steps. No chance of early release given the attempted kidnapping charges. And Chaz? 10 years for his role, plus additional charges for attempting to flee. He handed me a thick envelope. The last of the recovered funds, minus legal fees. Your daughter's college fund is fully restored. My phone chimed, Dr. Wong confirming my final treatment session. The cancer was in remission, retreating as surely as my ex-husband's confidence had in court. Mom! Sadie called, running up the steps with Amber. Did you see? I got the early acceptance letter. I hugged her tight, the MIT admission letter crumpling between us. Of course you did. You're brilliant. We should celebrate, Amber suggested. I know a great place for lunch. We ended up at the same restaurant where everything had fallen apart that night. It felt different in daylight, smaller, less imposing. The matron recognized me, his eyes widening slightly. Your usual table is available, he said quickly. Complimentary champagne? Water's fine, I replied, catching his nervous glance. The restaurant's reputation had taken a hit after the arrests made headlines. As we settled in, Sadie pulled out her phone. Look what Aunt Esme posted from prison. I hadn't blocked her social media access. I wanted her to see the consequences of her actions. Her latest post was a blur of self-pity. Family is complicated. Learning hard lessons. Chuck prison life, chaka reflection. She still doesn't get it, Amber muttered. No, I agreed. She never will. Sadie put her phone away, focusing on the college brochure she'd brought. MIT has this amazing robotics program, and their financial aid office already confirmed my scholarship. I watched her plan her future, free from the shadows of betrayal she'd never fully known about. The waiter brought our food, and I realized I was actually hungry, the first time since diagnosis that food smelled appealing. The treatment worked, I told them, picking up my fork. Dr. Wong confirmed it this morning. Complete remission. Amber's eyes filled with tears. Sadie grabbed my hand. Really? You're sure? Really. I squeezed her hand back. I'm not going anywhere. Except to help me move into my dorm, Sadie added quickly. Except that. My phone buzzed. Lane sending updates. They'd finally found Esme's Mercedes, abandoned at the Canadian border. The last piece of evidence collected, the final loose end tied. You know what's weird? Sadie said, picking at her salad. Dad hasn't tried to contact me since everything. He's not allowed to, I reminded her gently. The restraining order, I know. She straightened her shoulders. And I'm glad. What they tried to do, I wouldn't have forgiven them either. The sun streamed through the windows, catching the edge of my water glass. I remembered sitting here months ago, watching Esme celebrate stealing my daughter's future. Now she sat in a cell while Sadie planned for MIT. Sometimes the best revenge is success, Amber said, raising her glass. To new beginnings. To karma, I added. To MIT, Sadie chimed in. We clinked glasses, and I felt the last weight lift from my shoulders. The cancer was gone. The betrayers were gone. All that remained was possibility. Outside, autumn leaves scattered across the courthouse steps where justice had finally been served. My phone had stopped buzzing with drama and crisis, now filled instead with college preparation checklists and dormitory requirements. Ready to go home? I asked Sadie. She gathered her brochures, eyes bright with future plans. Actually, can we stop by the bookstore? I want to get a head start on calculus. I laughed, a real laugh, full and free. Of course we can. As we walked to the car, I caught my reflection in a store window. I looked different, stronger, not just from beating cancer, but from surviving betrayal, from protecting what mattered most. Mom, Sadie called from ahead. You coming? I joined her, leaving the courthouse and its ghosts behind. They had tried to steal my daughter's future, thinking cancer made me weak. Instead, they learned what every mother knows. Nothing makes you stronger than fighting for your child. Let's go get that calculus book, I said, stepping into the sunlight. The future's waiting.